But Carl Icahn also cautiously optimistic on the market, thanks to him. Now, one of the most bullish headlines I just mentioned was Goldman Sachs calling for a 23% jump in the S&P next year. One of the key underpinnings of that forecast, an improving economy, which means we've got to find a whole lot more jobs somewhere, and that's where Secretary of Commerce Gary Locke comes in. Secretary Locke, always a pleasure to see you.
Good to see you, Erin.
I know you're working on this push that we're going to export more stuff that's going to create more jobs. How many jobs do you think we can get over the next year, given how many you've already created by this export push?
Well, first of all, we're really pleased with the announcement of an agreement with Korea on a free trade agreement, which will really increase exports by at least $10 to $11 billion over the first couple of years. And with that comes, we're talking about 50 to 60,000 jobs. The rule of thumb is for every $1 billion in exports, that's 10,000 new jobs. And so we're really pleased with that.
You know, I was going to wait till later in the interview, but since you mentioned Korea, I wanted to bring it up here. I'm curious, you know, we're doing a series on Iran right now and investing there. And this free trade deal with Korea, I know, is the biggest since NAFTA. It's a big deal for this country and for Korea. Some out there, though, Secretary Locke, are really frustrated. You know, we were in Iran. I saw Samsung stores. They admit to us that they operate in Iran. The United States is saying you got to pick America or Iran, and with Samsung there, we go and sign a free trade deal. Is there anything hypocritical or double-handed about what the U.S. did?
Well, first of all, I mean, what we're really trying to do is open up markets for U.S. companies all around the world. And the fact of the matter is that so much of what America makes and produces by way of its goods and services are so highly valued and in great demand all around the world. We need to help U.S. companies sell those products. We need to remove the barriers that U.S. companies face all around the world. From the Middle East all the way to Asia. And with respect to, for instance, Korea, we will gain some $10 to $11 billion in increased sales over the next several years. 95% of the goods that would be exported to Korea within a few years will not have to pay any duty, which means costs will come down, making them a lot more competitive. But more importantly, countries and regions around the world are entering into free trade agreements with Korea. So if we don't have one, and the terms of this are very, very good for American workers and American companies, but if we don't have one, our sales will actually drop because places like the European Union have entered into free trade agreements.
Right.
That will give an edge to their products and their services, putting our American companies and American workers and goods and services behind.
So competitively you had to do it, and in a sense, I mean, I'm sure things like Samsung frustrate you, but I guess I'm just wondering why you couldn't get, I mean, I know I'm using this example because this is the one we happen to be talking about, but you couldn't get them to say, look, we're going to stop doing business with Iran, which the U.S. says isn't acceptable. You couldn't get that as a predicate?
Well, that is not part of the free trade agreement discussions. You know, the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and the international community through the United Nations are focused on sanctions on those companies that engage in business with Iran, and so that is proceeding on a separate track. But obviously this is very, very important for the United States and to make sure that American companies can grow and expand in Korea, but all around the world. And as a result, you know, our exports are up. This year, over the same period of 2009, exports are up some 18%. Manufactured goods exports are up 22%. And we're working with the private sector now to focus on additional programs, initiatives, whether it's the National Association of Manufacturers or FedEx, UPS, the Postal Service, on helping that 58% of all U.S. companies that now export, who only export to one country, if we can just help them export to 2 or 3 more countries,
right,
a lot more jobs, good paying jobs.
All right. Well, Secretary Locke, thank you very much. We appreciate it.